Okay, hi everyone here in the office and dear audience on YouTube. Today, me and Najaf are going to present to you a meetup, a presentation of a business analyst Edge. I'm Firuza and I'm a lead business systems analyst in Andersen and also product owner.
I'm Najaf Ganiev. I am product manager, UX researcher, and recent MBA graduate from Politecnico di Milano. And we are going to talk today about current AI context and AI agents. We're also going to talk about how using AI is influencing our cognitive capabilities. We'll also go into dive into some real world cases of AI misuse. And also we're going to have a look on how business analysts leverage future-proof skills in their daily job routine. So let's start with some definitions. So probably you know some of them. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human thinking and capabilities, including human learning, comprehension, problem solving, and decision making, and most importantly, creativity. AI is a broad meaning, including machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI, and also LLMs in Gen AI, which we're going to refer mostly today. How Gen AI works, it works on probabilistic method, so based on trained data. Why is it important? Because the technology tries to predict the next most probable token. And in case of creativity, this is a big problem because sometimes we don't need the most obvious answer, the most probable answer when we think about something. Also, generative AI and AI is limited, at least now, with the data that it's been trained on. And also, since the whole technology is, at least now, based on pattern recognition, it lacks of genuine problem solving. So, of course, if you have lots of cases that the technology has been trained on, you may solve certain complex problems. But if the technology haven't seen the problem or the problem has been formulated in a different way, it can give a different output. Let's move on towards AI agents. What is AI agent and what is agentic workflow? AI agents are software systems that use AI to complete tasks on behalf of a user. And the key word here is autonomously, because it has two important characteristics: iterative reasoning and decision making. So AI agent can take an output, iterate it, and tune it until it gets an appropriate or expected output, fine output. How this workflows, what is agentic workflow, and what is the difference of agentic workflow? If we take a normal automated workflow that is rule-based, it's built on this certain algorithm, like if-then. So if something happens, then we do this. AI workflow, it means using AI. It's still predetermined like rule-based, but it has a certain AI steps. So we use AI at a certain steps of it. However, agentic workflow, we can say that AI agent is a workflow itself. What do we mean by that? It means that we give a query. AI agent takes this query, iterates, checks it, and give an output. So the whole workflow is done by AI, unlike traditional AI. So what is the human role here? Human, in case of agentic workflow, needs to define clear goals, frame tasks, consider ethic part. However, AI will break down the task and execute it itself. Also, some statistics. According to McKinsey, 62% of organizations are experimenting with AI agents, and 23% of them are already scaling them. Moving forward to some statistics, the reality check, let's say, for AI adoption, 88% of companies, organizations, use AI at least in one business function. However, 39% of them see at least some tangible enterprise level impact on EBIT. Now, let's move on to how AI influences cognition?
Yes. Obviously, when we are using AI, our cognition is somehow impacted by that. And there are tons of different researches on that issue. But I will discuss with you only 3 of them. I would like to start with the research conducted by Michael Gerlich from SBS Swiss Business School, AI Tools in Society. So the researcher formed 2 hypotheses. The first one is that using AI tool reduces our critical thinking skill. And the second one is that cognitive offloading mediates this relationship between AI tool usage and critical thinking. So what is cognitive offloading in simpler terms? This term belongs to 2 professors of psychology, Ivan Risco and Sam Gilbert. And basically that means that when you are outsourcing and delegating as part of your cognitive functions to some external resources, it can be any technology, for example, some app or your calendar, or it can be some notes on paper. Everything is considered as cognitive offloading. So the research consisted of 2 parts, quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative was basically a survey, and there were some questions in questionnaire that evaluated the critical thinking of participants. Here are the results of this research. So we can see that both hypotheses were confirmed. Here's the table from research itself, which demonstrates us that AI tool usage, the correlation between AI tool usage and cognitive offloading is a strong positive one, strong positive correlation. Between AI tool use and critical thinking, we have strong negative correlation, and between cognitive offloading and critical thinking, we have strong negative correlation, which means that on step 1, we use AI tool. On step 2, cognitive offloading happens. And then this cognitive offloading mediates the reduction of critical thinking. What we should do with that, author considers that we should balance the benefits of AI tool. Obviously, we have some benefits, and the development of analytical thinking and provide some educational interventions to promote analytical thinking, independent thinking, and critical thinking. The second research was conducted by Natalia Kosmina from MIT, Your Brain on ChatGPT. So what was the study design? There were 4 sessions of essay writing, and the students, they wrote an essay on different topics on each step, on each session. The researchers, they measured how diverse their essays are, choosing of the words and so on. They also used electroencephalography. This is the one to record and to monitor how neurons in our brain behave, like how the network is being built and the connection between them. And also they checked their, if the participants can quote their own material, their own essay. There were 3. So I'm sorry. There were 3 groups of participants. LLM group. They were allowed to use ChatGPT, but no browsers, no different apps, no websites. The second one, a search engine group, they were allowed to use any website they want, but strictly they couldn't use any LLMs. And brain-only group. This is the group that could use only their brain, only their knowledge. And here are some results. Well, I think that as expected, brain-only group demonstrated most significant variety and diversity in their essays in terms of the points they touched, in terms of the wording they choose. Search engine group, they had moderate level of diversity, less than brain-only, but still better than LLM group. And some kind of filter bubble effect also appeared, and that's why they were, as well as LLM group, both search engine group, they were anchored with some concepts which their tools provided to them, right? So especially considering that they had time pressure, of course they used less cognitive efforts than brain-only group. And LLM group, their essays were rather homogeneous. They demonstrated the least level of diversity. Yeah, so this is the result regarding the content. So neural connectivity, as I said, they measured via encephalography and electroencephalography. They measured their brain activity and neural connectivity, which is the, simply saying, it's the level of connectivity between different neurons in our brains. And if we are taking brain-only group as baseline, so obviously they didn't use 100% of that brain, but we take them as baseline. That's why it's specified as 100%. They had the highest activation and connectivity level, so higher involvement and engagement into their essays. Search engine group demonstrated worse results. You can see that it's 34 to 48 lower than brain-only group. And LLM group, the worst result of brain activity and neural connectivity, only 55% lower than brain-only. So yeah, and the key insight here is that the more support, external support we have, the less we use our brain. That's very simple, but it's now proved via electroencephalography method or tool. Another thing that they measured was memory, like could they recall what they wrote a few minutes ago, right? So, and after each session, they asked participants to quote something from their essays. And the results, for me, when I read this research, it was very interesting because LLM group, 15 out of 16 participants couldn't, they had some struggled to quote their own essay. Like they wrote this essay a few minutes ago and they struggled to quote anything from that essay. And 0%, like none of them during the session one, could provide correct quotes. But still, some of them in LLM group, they still had the sense of ownership and they thought that it's their essay, but is it really your essay if you cannot quote anything from that? So it's an interesting thing to think about. And during session 3, LLM group still 6 out of 18 failed quoting their own material. The situation is much better in search engine and brain-only group. In session 1, only 2 people had difficulty quoting, and on the upcoming sessions, in session 3, all of them managed to quote and quote correctly their own essays with some very minor inaccuracies. And during the last session, brain-only group was allowed to use LLM, and LLM group was forbidden to use anything but their brain and their knowledge. And the results were that in terms of connectivity, LLM to brain, they outperformed brain only on session 1, but they demonstrated worse results than brain only group during session 2, session 3, and of course session 4. Brain to LLM group, they demonstrated the best results, and in terms of anything, connectivity level, the content diversity. So the authors state that this demonstrates that, of course, we can use LLM and maybe should use LLM, but before that, we should learn to think ourselves and to think independently. And only in this case, we will show the best results, like Brain to LLM group did. And yeah, and also they talk about the cognitive debt. Think about the cognitive debt as technical debt. So during when you are using some external tools and you are using your own brain functions and cognitive functions less than you could, you are accumulating some cognitive debt. Like in technical debt, you are choosing like worse solution in order to get quicker results. The same happens here. In order to get result right here, right now, you can use LLM or any other AI tool, and but you are not that involved and not that engaged, and that's why over time you are getting lazier and lazier, because LLM group demonstrated that during this research, and you are accumulating cognitive debt. So actually the same here, as I said, first learn how to think and then use whatever tool you want to use, including AI. And the third one is the research from Aalto University in Finland. It was conducted by Daniela Fernandez and other researchers. AI makes you smarter, but none the wiser. It's about how we self-reflect and how we evaluate our own performance. So it's about mostly metacognition. What was the study design? There were multiple choice. It was the multiple choice test with logical reasoning, and there were two groups: AI and no AI. Again, one group is allowed to use AI, another group is not. And here are the results. The performance in AI group, the objective performance, was indeed better than in non-AI group, on average by 3 points. So at least for multiple choice questions, AI indeed helps you in short run to get better results. But the overconfidence, because the participants were asked after their test, they were asked like, how do you think, how many points did you get? And they were overconfident and overestimated themselves by 4 points, which means that the use of AI tool can bring you, in the short run, can bring you better results, but your self-reflection will be worse than without it. And so-called Dunning-Kruger effect we have in non-AI configuration, usually this effect appears. What is this effect about? Usually, low performers, they tend to significantly overestimate themselves, and they think that they did much better than they actually do. High performance, they are more calibrated, or they tend to slightly underestimate themselves. But with AI, like all of them or majority of them tend to overestimate themselves, regardless their skill and performance. So yes, and the authors, they suggest to implement some AI tools, which also give the user opportunity to self-evaluate and like to self-reflect on their performance. I think that's it, and would like to share some cases.
Yeah, so these are some real cases that happened that kind of proves of what Firuza just said. So let's start with Deloitte Australia. Deloitte's office in Australia submitted a report for Australian government that had significant amount of errors, misquotes, and interestingly, it was referring to some researchers that didn't actually exist. And the cost of the report was $290,000 US. And the way that people found out about these errors was that one of the researchers that was reading this report, he noticed these researchers that the people that Deloitte was referring to. And the thing is that he knew the people that they were referring to, and he knew that these people, these researchers, his colleagues, didn't have these researchers. So as a result, Deloitte had to partially refund the money and come to a new agreement under undisclosed condition. Similar thing happened also with Deloitte, but in Canada, for high amount of money. The third case is about US lawyers that they submitted briefs also where they also referred to quotes that didn't exist in cases that didn't actually happen. And the last, also interesting, is CNET, is a tech media tech portal, and they wanted to write articles that will have better better result for search engines. And since they did it in AI, these articles had significant amount of errors, and they had to manually edit again 41 articles out of 77. Let's move forward.
Yeah. And now let's talk about, okay, we know what AI can bring. Besides some benefits, there are some, I would say, some results that are not as nice as benefits. So let's discuss the future-proof capabilities, like how we can struggle with the cognition shift that we can get as a result of AI usage. So again, there is I would like to refer to a book called Robot-Proof Higher Education in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, written by Joseph Aoun, president of Northeastern University. And he defines the problem that, well, currently we see the rise of different advanced technologies, right? Including AI. And a lot of automation happens, and routine work can be done by machines and not people anymore. Including jobs from so-called knowledge economy sphere. And there is a risk of unemployment or underemployment. And because of this problem, Joseph Aoun suggests the solution, a new discipline that should be in the universities or in any educational institutes. They are called humanics. It's a new discipline that includes 3 new literacies and 4 capabilities, which are robot-proof and which are very important for business analysts, but not only, of course, it's not exclusive, for like in general to stay robot-proof. The first literacy is data literacy. It's about how you are reading the data, how you can interpret that, analyze. The second one is technological literacy. It's about your understanding of engineering principle, of how machines work. And the third one is human literacy. It's about your collaboration with people. Do you understand them? Can you work with them? Altogether, these literacies, if you develop them, you will have the necessary competencies to not to lose your job and to stay robot-proof. And also 4 cognitive capabilities, which are highlighted by Aoun. It's critical thinking, system thinking, entrepreneurship, and cultural agility. Critical thinking, he defines as analyzing ideas skillfully and applying them fruitfully. I would add to that it's the ability to question and to challenge the assumptions that you have, implicit or explicit assumptions. System thinking is the ability to see the whole system and parts of it, how they can interact with each other and the whole system. Entrepreneurship is your ability to create something new. It can be startups, companies, new roles, new industries maybe, or significantly change existing and make transformations in existing organizations. Cultural agility is about your ability to work in multicultural contexts and like in cross-cultural teams. And I'm working on the project right now, which includes people from all over the world. And I would say that cultural agility is really as important as your hard skills, for example. Regarding the work of BA particularly, I would distinguish 4 pillars: thinking pillar, communication pillar, impact pillar, and knowledge pillar. On these pillars, and if you are relying on these pillars and the capabilities within these pillars, you will probably thrive as a specialist, as a business system analyst. It includes the critical thinking, system thinking that we already mentioned, problem solving, root cause analysis, which is an important part of business analyst work, cognitive flexibility, metacognition, which we already mentioned. A communication pillar is about empathy and your emotional intelligence. Can you understand people? Can you understand their pains, unspoken pains, including the end users? For example, when you are creating some application, let's say, it's not that easy to ask the end user and get the direct answers. Like, okay, I want this and this. Sometimes you have to hear unspoken pains. Impact pillar is about your business impact that you make, your vision, your ownership skills, leadership skills, business acumen. And knowledge pillar, it's your hard skills, actually. It's your knowledge of technology or knowledge of particular business domain. If we apply this to business analyst workflow, I would like to show you, I would say it's a typical workflow of a business analyst. It's discovery, when you are trying to understand the problem and define the objective, like why we are doing what we are doing. Decomposition and prioritization. Then you are gathering some information. It's called requirements elicitation step. Then scope definition, because you should limit what you are doing. You are analyzing information, then you find some solutions, solution design. You are documenting the requirements that you gathered. You validate and align these requirements with your stakeholders. Then you support developers and your team with delivering the feature or the product. And then it's also the important part. You evaluate the impact of your work, of product or of particular feature. So I would give some examples here. On discovery step, it's important to understand the real problem. It's just an example. The stakeholder can come to you and say, hey, we need AI chatbot because our support is overwhelmed with tons of tickets and calls. And instead of jumping into gathering requirements to create chatbot, you have to validate, is it really our problem? Do we really need this chatbot? And you go to the support. You can ask the support specialist, or you can analyze the data, you can analyze the tickets, and you find out that customers, your users, are confused by FAQ. And because you provided them with outdated information, with wrong information, and that's why they are calling and they say, hey, I thought that I can add my insurance policy in the website. Why I cannot do that? But you cannot, because your FAQ says that you can, but no, it's outdated information. That's why the first thing as business analysts you should do is to talk to stakeholders that, hey, look, the problem is not the absence of AI chatbot. The problem is outdated FAQ. Maybe let's update our FAQ first, review it and update it. And our assumption is that after that improvement, a number of calls and tickets will reduce significantly, will decrease. And after that, someday we can do this chatbot. But for now, we should solve the real problem that we have. This is just an example of how business analysts can question and challenge the information that they get from stakeholders. There are, on the slide, you can see some other examples that when you are, business analyst organizes some brainstorming sessions across teams, refinement session. It's all about the work with people, collaboration, and it's your communication pillar. If you can document, you can provide API specification using Swagger, it's your technology knowledge, and that means that it's your knowledge pillar. Yeah, so and you can see different examples here. And I think that's the last idea we would like to share today.
Yeah. So to sum it up and just explain why we called this meetup Edge of Business Analysts. Yeah. We think that in a world where AI is taking most of the workflow and taking into account the skills that we mentioned, critical thinking, cultural agility, we think that business analysts have a certain advantage since they utilize the skills every day. Of course, it is not exclusive for business analysts to think critically, design workflows, and so on. But business analysts for sure do it a lot. And considering that we actually moving from fixed roles to fluid work, so our job titles don't matter that much now. And in an AI era, we see that people will mostly focus on defining the right problem and designing the workflow, establishing frameworks, and very importantly, the ethical part. And you can see that some companies hire specialists for ethics also right now, because it's a huge issue and it's important. And at the core, it may be not business analysts, it may be some project manager, for example. But we do think that if that project manager, for example, has at core business analyst skills, that person will thrive. So that's why we wanted to focus more on the skills of business analysts here. So I think...
Yeah, just to sum up, we think, of course, we are not trying to speculate on that, but probably in the future, the job title will mean less than the competencies, right? I'm a business analyst, you're a project manager. Probably our competencies will be much more important than that job title. So that's why we mentioned that from fixed roles, we are moving forward and going to fluid work. And I think that's it. The next slide is about Q&A. If you have any questions, you're very welcome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Personal question.
Yeah.
How do you personally use AI in your projects to help you support you? And how do you make sure of its legitimacy, like the data's legitimacy?
I would say that I don't use that much, to be honest. And as we said, that overuse and over-reliance can lead to some bad results. Of course, I use for some certain tasks, like to structure my thoughts if they are messy. I use Perplexity mostly, if you are interested. But I can use it for some translation reasons. I can use it to, when I'm writing user stories, for example, I can, in order to make it more structured and better sounding from the native speaker point of view, because I'm not a native speaker in English, and that's why I can use it. But for the idea itself and for the feature, to define what feature we need, I don't use it for that. I talk to stakeholders, to the team. I read the documentation. Also, I can say that I use AI for getting the basic idea. For example, on my project, we had accessibility initiative, and it was the first time when I have heard about the accessibility on the website. And that's why, in order to get the basic idea, what is that about, what it includes, I used AI. But when I started work on user stories, of course, I went to the website and I read the success criteria and so on and so forth. So I would say that. And also you can use it for modeling, for UML and BPMN. But again, it's very important. You can use it as help because you are the one who defined the process, if it's BPMN or the system, and you are the one who should validate it. So yeah, but as support, I think that you can use that. Would you like to share what when you use your?
I can say that I used it when I was doing my MBA project. It was a report on sport tech market, mostly football tech. And also what I did, I tried to give strict limitations, but of course it doesn't stop the models from hallucination. And here your critical thinking and knowing of the context is important. Since I knew a little bit about football markets and the football technology in football, I could understand which data is suspicious when I was checking it and reading it. So these are very, very important things.
Yeah, so, and that's why, well, it may seem that only newbies cannot use AI, but as Najaf presented, even big companies cannot notice the hallucinations, can refer to the researchers cases that doesn't exist. So it's a global problem.
Yeah, and the thing is that researchers were they noticed it by accident.
Yeah,
like Australian government didn't notice it, and neither Deloitte noticed it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
It's kind of interesting that they didn't notice it, because how can you not notice that? Because if you get an answer from AI from ChatGPT, you have to go and find the research. You have to find the resource for that.
Yeah, it seems logical, but you can see that the result, and they have to refund. Maybe time pressure, when you have real time pressure, you don't concentrate on that. If you refer to cases that doesn't exist, you don't care. You care about more important things. And yeah, so who knows, maybe if it wasn't read by the researcher, and this researcher knew the people who they referred to, if he didn't find it out, no one would notice it, and they wouldn't refund, so everything would be okay. But by accident, they found it. So,
how do you think, what would be the best way to reduce the hallucinations?
It's on you.
So it is an issue because I think you were not here, but when we were saying that LLMs were limited with creativity, and it's a dilemma, because if you if you take out all the hallucination, there is no so-called creativity, even though LLMs are, strictly speaking, are not creative, but there is no creativity. So the tuning the models and we see that the amount of data, they try these companies like Anthropic, Claude is the model, Anthropic, OpenAI, they try to find more and more data to train, so it will reduce the hallucination. However, I forgot his name, the person who left OpenAI because he doesn't believe in LLMs. So he thinks that AI should be based on some other technology. It's an open question. There is no clear answer for that, to be honest. But just saying that in case of LLMs, which we use, it's a balance between hallucination and so-called creativity.
And by the way, if anyone watches us on YouTube, guys, you can write your questions to chat.
Do we see the chat?
But do we see the chat, by the way? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, any other questions? You can open YouTube, maybe we have there. Well, if no questions, then thank you for your attention. It was a pleasure to present our material for you. Here are the QR codes to our IT community, Andersen's IT community, our LinkedIn, our Telegram. You can share feedback. You can share it with our using this QR, or you can write on LinkedIn if you like. And yeah, and also we will appreciate if you write the topics that you are interested, and maybe we will prepare the next meetup on that topic. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.